Welcome to Baigon Radio. Today, we have a special guest, Shaojian Zhang, a seasoned professional with over 30 years of experience in manufacturing and investment. Shaojian will share his insights on China's manufacturing industry, including its evolution and growth. Shaojian has worked in China, Singapore, and the US, holding senior executive positions and advising cutting-edge manufacturing technology firms. In this episode, we discussed high-end manufacturing in China, its stages of development since the reform era, the rise of indigenous Chinese companies. We'll also delve into China's going global strategy, the challenges and opportunities faced by Chinese manufacturers. Do note that Shaojian and I recorded this episode at the courtyard of our alma mater's Shanghai office, so University of Virginia's Shanghai office. So you might hear some Shanghai street sounds in the background. So let's get started. Welcome, Shaojian. Can you introduce yourself first?
Thank you, Mo, for this opportunity to have a dialogue on economy, particularly on the technology and the industry side. My name is Shaojian. I'm a Darden 1999. My background is really on the industry side, both on the technology part of industry and also on the manufacturing industry in general. And I have been in this business in China, Singapore, US for almost 30 years. Basically, I have been in the supply side, manufacturing business side, consulting and investment field as well.
Yeah, so we've known each other for many years, and I know you have a very accomplished career. At first, you work as a senior executive at a leading US manufacturer firm, and then now you are doing investment in China, mostly China-based manufacturers, focusing on the high-end manufacturing. You're also advisors for some of the leading-edge manufacturing technology firms. So in terms of advanced manufacture or Industry 4.0, can you define what is high-end manufacturers?
High-end manufacturing, at least two aspects are very important. One is the product you're manufacturing. The second one is how you manufacture the product. Talking about the manufacturing process and also the manufacturing equipment you're using. For example, how many robotics are you using in your manufacturing? How much advanced data science have been using in the manufacturing of the product? In simple terms, just two aspects referring to the advanced manufacturing.
You have spent decades on different industrial companies and projects in China. You have witnessed the evolution of China's manufacturing industry. Can you give us an overview of post-reform? What were the stages of the developments of China's manufacturing industry?
Yeah, this is a long-term evolution for China, starting from opening up in 1980. In that time, there's not much advanced manufacturing.
Yeah.
Most of advanced manufacturing probably started from 2000. From that time, a lot of indigenous company, joint venture company, as well as a foreign investment company in China start to manufacture high-end product. Really, I think 2000 is a time the Chinese industry become sophisticated.
So after 2000, China started to get more sophisticated in manufacturing industry. What was the beginning and what have you seen in recent years?
We can put into 10 years as one stage. So from 2000 to 2010 and from 2010 to 2020, this is a two quite drastically different stage for the China manufacturing industry. In the first few years, industry start to absorb advanced technology or some of the manufacturing technology from overseas company. By 2005, if you look at the product they produce, gradually amount to a competitive product with some other country. By 2010, it's really a critical point. At that time, China consumption of electricity actually among same as electricity consumption in US. It's a really turning point. I can give a couple of examples as why I see that. One of them, when we do industrial automation, having servo motor, the motion is very critical. That means your machine can have very precise movement and can do very precise assembling because accurate motion control. The Chinese motion and component sales pick up very quickly in 2010. That is a turning point. At the same time, by 2010, robotics application in China become very popular, and the density has increased a lot compared with 10 years ago.
You mentioned that initially it's more about foreign firms coming
Yeah.
into China, and then China is absorbing the technologies. What was the role of the foreign firms specifically then versus now?
Yeah, this is a very interesting concept. Initially, the foreign company like Siemens, GE, or Schneider, or some Japanese company, and they come over, establish sales office in China. Some establish joint venture with Chinese company. So gradually, the Chinese company know how to do manufacture those products and get to understand those products. For most industry, you need a few years to digest, to learn. So that's a well period for Chinese company to learn that particular industry. You can talk about home appliance industry. Initially, they build OEM product for the overseas customer. And if you look at today for the appliance industry, it's far past that period. And by today, Guinea, Haier, and Media, those three companies actually are top 5 worldwide.
Oh, wow.
So they're actually, by now, design their own product and way high-end product. If you're talking about washing machine, you can have 1,000 simple washing machine right now. And if you look at higher washing machine, you have 5 different brands, including GE brand. The GE brand is the GE appliance brand. You have acquired the business from GE. Now you can have advanced washing machine, which is 20,000 RMB per machine. Even the worldwide, that's very high-end washing machine.
I see, yeah.
So what I'm saying is that in this particular home appliance industry, one might argue the Chinese manufacturer actually is in a very advanced phase.
So they have already dominated, even the top tier market. So during that period, right, there's different narrative about it. Now, given the dynamics, some people call it intellectual property theft, which is more extreme. And some milder term is forced technology transfer. Some people call it friendly ways, just learning, joint venture, right, collaborating. So what exactly happened during that period for Chinese firms that are catching up or learning from the Western firms?
This is obviously a sensitive topic. Different people have different experience, and then they have different data information, might have different conclusion. I have participated in both sides of the business. My understanding, this is really a marketing force. It's part of economic activity. In the sense, initially, when you want to sell product, when you like to localize, you have to work with your supplier. If you work with your supplier, you have to share certain information with them. So gradually they understand how to do it. Not necessarily directly copy your product, but at least the exposure, you have some technology or know-how overflow. So this is a more normal way of knowledge, insight, gradually spread in a market, and that's number one. Number two is that when some advanced product is sold in certain market, then user have better experience, user have better knowledge, and those knowledge can be accessed by manufacturer, and their technology team can develop new product based on the customer feedback and the customer information. So if you have one product, you do 2 to 3 iterations, then by the third one, more or less, your product pretty good.
Yeah.
So we should now consider knowledge IP state. It should be evolving.
Right.
And if it's evolving, for many business, we don't really care people copy our 2-3 years generation product, as long as we are innovating ourselves. But obviously, and bad apple everywhere. Some of the Chinese company copy other Chinese company as well. That's more generic problem we have.
So generally, it's more about market dynamics that leads to the evolution and growth of the suppliers, right?
That's a pretty heavy influence. That's part
Right.
of the competition dynamics, making your product better every day.
So then the further question is that since you have seen manufacturers in other countries, in the catching up countries, right? Other countries are also doing catch ups. Was that particular that China's manufacturers catch up faster than other less developed countries?
Yeah, of course, China, for quite few reasons, we can talk briefly, has been most rapidly advancing country in terms of product innovation. At least two, three factors I can think of. One is the huge market. When you have a huge market, worldwide, everyone come to your market to play. So if I talk about appliance industry, every major white appliance company was in China in some time. So I can also talk about power distribution business. You can have Slider, you can have GE, you can have Siemens, you can have everyone join. Then the knowledge they bring over is best of. And you can see every technology. So because that, you have exposure, so you can innovate much faster, have more knowledge, just number one. Also just because China also have a large engineering talent pool. So that's very critical when you like to do new product introduction or development. The third one is really the manufacturing supply chain, because supply chain is so fast, and that's three of them. Now, of course, in China, in the past 20 years, we do have a lot of money supply. So capital was not an issue.
The three reasons you mentioned, right? First one, having a big market and also making the market open is driven by the government's policy directions. Second one, education. It's also partly driven by education policy of China. But third one, building up this manufacturer supply chain and ecosystem. How was that achieved? It sounds like it has to be driven by the government to have industrial policy that nurtures different part of the ecosystem or the supply chains.
Yes, in certain degree. Let me just use in power distribution equipment business. Initially, you have a state control design institute.
Right.
They open it up for foreign company to come over. Then they encourage foreign company work with the local manufacturing company or with design institute. And so open the market up. That's number one. Now also the government encourage in school and have this kind of education as well. We have a lot of university offer courses, bachelor degree, master degree, PhD degree on those subjects. The third one, because they need a lot of power, electricity, so government support the growth of the industry as well, in terms of money, in terms of resource. That certainly play a very important role in advancing this particular industry.
It's kind of fascinating now to think about it. From my point of view, I'm an outsider to the manufacturing industry sector in China. But in recent years, we heard that China actually has the most complete supply chain across 200 sectors. That's very competitive in that sense. So now that China has caught up with the global manufacturing standard, what other industries is China leading?
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Today, people talking about foreign company like Volkswagen working with Chinese company in EV and EV battery. And not only working with Chinese company in China, actually bring the Chinese technology or product back to US and Europe. Has been so many high profile cases, so I think I don't need to mention. So certainly these two areas China is leading worldwide. And even on the robotics side, China is making quite huge progress on industry robots and also on some of the collaborative robots as well. And 2-3 years ago, people talking about the humanoid robot, and that's one area China is still doing very good. That's probably 3 categories of areas Chinese companies doing very good. One is really some of the industry in the past 20 or 30 years, a lot of those industry migrate out from US or Europe to Asia. So China keep doing innovating in those areas. So right now, there are leading country in those areas, like some of the material and like fiber, and that's number one category. The second category, of course, is all about home appliance and also about some small consumer electronics product. And those products, Chinese company is doing very well. And the third one is probably a lot of industry component, like electromechanic device. China has been doing very good.
Anything that you think from a Westerner perspective is unknown, but it's already very advanced in China?
One of them I can think of is 3D printing. China has been doing very, very good. In Europe, you have Siemens and a couple of companies doing very good. In US, of course, GE has been doing very good. But China has been a huge force in 3D area.
That's both consumer 3D printing and industrial 3D printing, right?
Yes, you use plastic, home use for toys or for medical application. But also for high-end titanic material and for engine parts, for those drone component.
Got it. Now that Chinese company and manufacturers have built a lot of advanced manufacturing capacity, we're also hearing the theme of going global. We know that part of them is due to the change in trade policy globally, right? There's some hurdle for China manufacturers or export their product directly. But other than that, what kind of going overseas strategy have you seen?
Yes, quite few reasons. What you mentioned is one important factor to consider why you have to go overseas to set up not only business channels for sales, also probably setting up production capability overseas. The second one is really some industry you need close to the market. You need to constantly work with your customer. Your application engineer need to work with their designer. So in that case, having a sales channel is not sufficient. You need to co-locate in the same city. This is a very important factor for a lot of industry, particularly you are talking about advanced manufacturing. So this is obviously the second one. The third one is really for supply chain consideration. Some products are not meant to travel long. I was talking to you about a moment ago 3D printing. For 3D printing, the material powder are very heavy. So if you produce powder in China, move to US, Europe, that's not going to make the business case. So you have to set up factory in Europe or US to supply those powder directly and to your custom base.
Percentage-wise, how many of the manufacturers you've seen are considered going overseas? Is that a broader trend or is it
It's a widespread phenomenon right now, and most of people I met want to grow up business to might be just 100 million renminbi. They start consider what they do initially, set up some sales channel, and gradually they need to consider whether they need to set up office in other country and then manufacturing capability as well.
At the very high level, I think it makes sense. Right? We are seeing high inflations in many countries. That speaks to a short of supply, and definitely not. And then China itself has a low inflation rate, and we have a lot of abundance of capability and supply. So at a very high level, if China's oversupply can be used to address the short of supply in the inflationary countries, then both sides will win.
Benefit.
I'm quite positive about this thesis. We just need to let the countries and all these trade organizations sort out how to play that, given the current political dynamics. But what's your view?
Yes, certainly, I think when you listen to what Musk was talking, he always talking about in China how people are diligent, working, grow business, start business. That's one important factor because we have so many businessmen, entrepreneurs want to do something. So you almost have oversupply and capability. That's very culturally important effect. And in some other country, you might not have those kind of phenomena. So that's number one. And number two, those entrepreneur kind of spirit, really, if you give chance, they can also play important role in other countries. That's what I was talking about. Not just exporting goods to other country. Go to other country, work with local people, like doing some JV. So it's like many years ago, one multinational company, one Hong Kong or Southeast Asia Chinese come to China, doing business in China. Not only they're making money, they also benefit local development. Now it's a time for the Chinese company business go to other country, do JV, do business, making some money, and helping local economy.
That's I would say, the hopeful prospect to integrate with the local economy and help them build it. There's many hurdle that this global Chinese entrepreneur have to get over before doing that. So let's switch to a more sensitive one. So I've been tracking the developments of consumer markets and internet markets in China, as well as the financial markets. Overall, it's been not recovering as fast as expected. Went through some setbacks during the COVID years. What have you seen for China's manufacturers in the last few years? Is it the same directions that we see in consumer markets, or is it different?
Obviously, consumer confidence or sentiment will reflect on the B2B manufacturing. So that's a huge issue for quite some time. I guess for a lot of manufacturing companies, they probably still need a little bit of time to digest the current situation, and probably need some time to figure out what to do, whether they can have a better year for 2024, or they're making some big investment, or they're starting some new business, or they do more international business as well. So that's a few things that people are considering, but they need some time.
But we see that the government is shifting its policy towards encouraging advanced manufacture, right? Even more so since last year. How is that shift boost the morale and the growth of these sectors? Do you see the impact of that? I thought that would offset some of the performance in the consumer end.
Yes. For certain segment, if it's under government policy which encourages them to develop faster, making more investment, certainly people are putting more effort in that, particularly in the early stage. Research, development, new product development. Those are certainly, you can see 3D printing, some advanced robotics, and a lot of new energy industry, lithium battery, solid battery, and semi-solid battery. Those areas you can see a lot of startup company, large company making innovation. Certainly that has been very strong. But other than that, for the business to grow, still depends on the whole market recover. Otherwise, those innovations not going to bring a lot of revenue for the current year. So those are really future.
So the government's policy is more on fostering investment in the short term, not keeping them alive and keep the confidence.
Or create demand for the product, which really should come from consumer market, then flow over to B2B.
So that's the internal constraint. We'll talk about another highly debated questions. Chip sanctions, right? We don't have to talk about how China reacts, but in advanced manufacturers, chips matters, right? You need a lot of chips for automation. So was the chip sanctions, CHIPS Act creating challenges for non-AI industry?
This has been an interesting discussion. Actually, worldwide, there's a shortage of semiconductor product, which in 2018 was not really because political issue, just a global short supply. So in that period, the whole advanced manufacturing industry has been hit very hard. And you're talking about some PLCs controller for the robotics, for the industry equipment. You need 6 months or 7 months lead time. So it was a huge issue for China in 2018. But talking about semicon shortage because geopolitical consideration, most of industry controller or semicon are not so advanced. You don't need a GPU to do a normal PLC control. So it's not that bad.
This is great overview of the evolution of China's manufacturing sector. You have worked with both global firms and local firms. What would be your advice to global investors and global business that are looking into investing and doing business in China's manufacturing sectors going forward?
Yeah, I think a lot of medium-sized and large multinational companies have been benefit from doing business in China for a lot of aspects. They can continue or should continue working in China, developing new products, leverage the China capability, supply chain, and engineering, also advanced technology, and because you have exposure to worldwide technology in China. So if you are only from Europe, one country, there's no better place to have access to technology from worldwide. So that's number one. Number two is a so good place to do new product introduction because supply chain as well. The third one is really the totally new area. It's working with Chinese company in other country and also their home country as well. It's a new challenge and a new opportunity. But for the smaller company and also might be some company from Southeast Asia and Latin American or the African, it's really how to play the China card because China has so much resource. It's like your backyard. How to leverage this resource, make your product business competitive is so obvious a card where you like to play or not. So I was in Singapore a couple months ago. I was talking to quite a few persons locally. And I was thinking about leverage China resource, build a JV business in Singapore, or maybe factory in Malaysia or Thailand or Indonesia.
We are experiencing an inflection point in terms of how we perceive and work with China's manufacturing industry. It has grown to a level where it can climb up the supply chain and creating more value both domestically and globally. On the China side, I think Chinese government and the Chinese company are also trying to figure out how to deal with this new reality. Global investor and global business also have to learn about this new reality and how to take advantage of it. This is a very interesting period, and thanks Shaojian for sharing your insights.
Nice talking to you. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.